Hey, how you doing? David from Frivolity Bottle Shop here. I'm going to talk you through some seasonal wines, and if I dare say it, the C word, Christmas. Yeah, it's upon us, folks. I know we've still got a few important dates to get out of the way first, but it's definitely here. You've started shopping, so I've started putting it on the shelf. So I'm going to talk you through what just might be some of my top Christmas picks this year. Sorry for the look today. I've gone for a bit of a dress down Friday. I was up all through the night with my little girl. She's teething. So yeah, I had maybe 5 minutes extra in bed this morning than what I should have. So hence this kind of just happened. So anyway, without further ado, where would you like to start? Okay, I think we'll start with port. You know, I think I've done, let's see, quick count, 18, 19, 20, 21. I think I've maybe done 18 Christmases in the trade in some shape or form now. And, you know, unless it's the end of the world tomorrow, I bet my last book that people are going to be wanting port and talking about port. So I'll probably start with the most asked for yet hardest to find port of them all, white port. It's not that it's hard to find, it's just us retailers don't really stock as much of this as we do the others, so it goes quite quickly. So this is probably the most asked for kind of in the closing weeks of Christmas, and you know, we've sold out, and I'll probably be in the same boat because I only bought a case of this stuff. This is Magales by Quinta de Cival. They're a kind of old schooly port house right in the heart of the port in the Durham port making region, and they do some fantastic stuff, and I've got 4 wines in from these this year. So the white, it's medium dry, it's got a little bit of sweetness to it, so you can have this with a little bit of kind of hard-rounded cheese, soft cheese. It goes really nice with like dried fruits and nuts and things that are composed of dried fruits and nuts, just saying. And it's just ideally just served chilled, served with a bit of ice. You could maybe put a bit of soda water in it for a kind of longer drink. It's delish. Popular in recent years, they do a rosé port as well, or pink port as it's become known. This stuff's fantastic, a little bit more versatile still than the white port. It goes with a lot of the things I just mentioned. I'd maybe stay clear of the cheese with this one. It goes quite well with fruity desserts, all those classic kind of custard tarts that you get from Portugal. So extrapolate that, and you know, you could have this with kind of an egg custard tart, a tart au citron or something like that. But in terms of preparing drinks, again, drink it cold, drink it neat, drink it with ice, drink it with soda water, drink it with a little bit of light tonic water, put some orange wedges in there, and you can even put this in the bottom of a glass of fizzy wine as well, and it'll be absolutely delicious. Again, I don't have loads of this, so if you want it, come and get it. They're £15 a piece, but money well spent because it goes a long way. You know, you're talking 20% volume, so that'll keep you sipping all through Christmas Day and Boxing Day, and maybe a little dash to go in your sparkling wine on your New Year's Day brunch. Okay, Ruby Port. Everybody loves this one as well. It's lighter, it seems sweeter. You don't get those kind of drying tannins because it ain't got none. You stick it in your fridge, you drink it cold. It's beautiful stuff. This stuff normally comes in, this is 500 mils. It normally comes in 500 mils or less. I've seen it in kind of half bottle formats before, and I won't say the name of the one that's most popular in the supermarkets, but expect to pay kind of upwards of £20 or more for a good Tawny Port. This is on a special offer right now. It's only £14, and it's probably one of the best buys in the shop. Like I say, it's a 500ml bottle. This is a full size bottle. This is a 500ml size bottle, so it's not quite full bottle size, but it goes a long way again. 19.5%. Something to sip on over Christmas. Ideal for you. Ideal as a stocking filler Christmas present as well. Moving on. Fine ruby. Why would you drink a ruby port? Everyone kind of, I'm going to tell you by the way, I'm not being dismissive of ruby port. Everyone's banging to LBV and vintage port, and it's something that I can understand why, because we associate the term vintage with a kind of a premium product. You know, we talk about vintage wine, even though really all wine is vintage because it comes from a vintage or other. Or we talk about vintage champagne, vintage this, vintage that. So I think we naturally assume that a vintage port is the way to go. Or albeit a LBV, which stands for late bottle vintage. But quite often they're not maybe the smartest choice. You know, they produce a lot of tannins. Those tannins don't particularly knit very well with blue cheese, for example. People always make that comparison of blue cheese like Stilton and Port. And really, if you think about it, next time you have the opportunity to try it, all of that tannin in the port does not really get on with all of that fat in the cheese. It's quite an awkward kind of composition on the palate. Far better, I think, to go for a ruby, which is much lighter in the tannins but still retains all of that body and all of those sweet fruity flavours that we associate with port. I think much better drinking, and I've always said that. I also do buy another port producer, Quinta de Sagrado. I do their ruby port as well. I do like 2 ruby ports because I'm a big believer in them, and they're much more versatile than some of the LBVs. You know, like I say, we get drawn into the LBVs because we want to see a vintage, we want to see a date on the bottle. But a ruby is the way to go, and this currently is £16. I normally charge a little bit more. My rubies normally go for more of the £20 mark because they come from smaller independent producers of port that are, in my opinion, a little bit more qualitative focused than some of the big boys that populate the supermarket, without mentioning any names. So 16 quid for that one, and that is port done. Moving on. My top pick for Christmas Day this year, white and red, and all will be explained. First up, I have Domaine de Rochebane Macon Village Chardonnay. It is a 2018 vintage, so quite fresh. This was just made last year, but you wouldn't really expect anything less from a nice, easy drinking, fresh Macon Village from Burgundy. So let me tell you what's so good about this. It is made from 100% Chardonnay, as you'd expect for a Maconnais wine, but only lightly oaked in kind of second use barrels, so it doesn't kind of overpower the wine. But what that does is brings you texture and body to the wine that makes it a perfect body for matching with meats such as turkey and chicken, or even a kind of nice lightly cooked bit of beef, you know, that's still quite kind of light and pink in the middle. This will even work with that. But then the richness of the fruit as well. One of the biggest challenges with pairing a wine with Christmas dinner is just that there's so much texture and flavour going on that plate. You've got the meat, you've got 12 different types of vegetables, you've got pigs in blankets, you've got Yorkshire puddings maybe if you come from this neck of the woods. Let alone the gravy and the sauces, the cranberry sauce, the mint sauce, the whatever. Yes, people put mint sauce on Christmas dinner. I have seen it done. And yeah, they're quite challenging spectrum of flavours. So really you want something rich, richly fruited. That oak goes a long way to kind of carrying the wine over some of those complex flavours on your plate. Trust me, this is a real winner. And a natural choice for turkey and chicken, but a good safe bet for a nice savoury wine. to match with that spectrum of flavours. In a nutshell, if you want to know more, pop in and I'll kind of bore you to tears a little bit more about food and wine matching. So the red, nothing really changes here. You know, that plate of food still has its kind of broad spectrum of textures and flavours. So roughly speaking, we want a red wine that's kind of around about the same weight as our white wine that we just spoke about, but with other kind of properties that make it a safe bet with a Christmas dinner. So I am going for the classic Pinot Noir, and you might think or expect me to suggest a Pinot Noir from Burgundy, but you'd be mistaken, because those Pinot Noirs from Burgundy can be incredibly expensive, even at the bottom end. This one is actually from the Ardèche, so you're getting in towards the kind of alpine regions of France, but they do this one incredibly well. This comes from cooperative in the Ardèche, and it's beautiful. It delivers. You wouldn't necessarily know it didn't come from Burgundy. It's extremely good quality wine, and here's why. It's got a light body, not too heavy. If you want to drink a really heavy wine with your Christmas dinner, go for it. Absolutely go for it. You know, Christmas only happens once a year, and if you want something big and heavy and thick, because that's what you like drinking, drink it. But if you want something more suited and more palatable to what's on the plate in front of you, I would go for something like this. There's just enough kind of berry fruit to kind of carry the freshness of the wine. We're talking cherries, we're talking strawberries. It's got a nice wash of acidity on the finish that really cleanses the palate. Just enough body to live up to the kind of the weight and the texture of some of those meats, your pigs in blankets, that kind of thing. But it has this wonderful kind of smoky quality to it, almost, and some of you are going to be lost on this expression, but all will be explained, a Bretty quality to it. Brett is a type of yeast, Brettanomyces, which sometimes is desired in wine, sometimes it is undesired. But for this reason, it produces what we call a kind of animal flavour in the wine, and you're thinking, well, what does animal mean? Think kind of horsey, cow kind of farmyard. It's a kind of stinky, kind of meaty, rich kind of flavour. Don't let that put you off, because it comes in a very kind of subtle way in this wine, but it adds a little bit of kind of richness and nuance to the wine that just gives it a little bit of kind of quality, and that Brett quality is something that's often associated with very, very kind of high-end wines from Burgundy. It's not uncommon to hear that word used in a kind of tasting descriptive of a Pinot Noir from Burgundy, or from some of the other wine producing regions of the world. So yeah, in a nutshell, you're getting a very, very, very good quality wine here that's going to be beautiful with your Christmas dinner. It's very, very very, very food friendly, and very versatile with that Christmas dinner, whether you're having chicken, pork, turkey, beef. It'll work with those, and it'll kind of bring everything together, as will the white. And we're talking £14 for the white, £13 for the Pinot Noir. Not a bad stretch to treat yourself on Christmas Day, and certainly not a lot to pay for a wine of these quality. That said, like I said before, if you really love drinking full-bodied red wines, and that is your bag, and you want a suggestion from me, you couldn't go far wrong with a Malbec from Argentina. This is made by Ampacana from the San Juan region, and it's beautiful. It's not too full-bodied, too heavy that it's going to kind of ruin everything. It's got a nice kind of refined nature to the palate. Yes, it's fuller fruited than the Pinot Noir, it's fuller bodied, there's slightly heavier tannins, but I think it could work very, very well, especially if you're having some roast beef. And that is also £14. And if you wanted to go white and you really, really don't like Chardonnay, then why not just make it a Sauvignon Blanc? and this is Main Divide Sauvignon Blanc from Wapara in New Zealand, and it's cracking. This will lend itself particularly well to seafood, prawn cocktails, lobster if you're splashing out, dressed crab, smoked salmon. It'll work really, really well with those dishes. It wouldn't be my first pick to go with your actual mainstay, your kind of Christmas roast, but it's not going to be a million miles off. And like I say, if you really don't like drinking Chardonnay, this is probably your next best bet for a meal like that. And this is £15 and it's absolutely top draw. Okay, if we're talking Christmas presents now, obviously any of these bottles of wine can lend themselves to being a Christmas gift, but if you needed any more persuasion, I do these quite nice little sets. So this is 37 quid for the pair, but you get the gift box, you get the wood wool, it's wrapped up and presented quite nicely. I do these in single bottle formats, doubles and triples, and I even have some wicker hampers as well if you wanted to kind of make a hamper up for somebody. I've got loads of little bits and pieces like this which you probably have to come in to the store to kind of appreciate more. And like I said, you don't have to go with my suggestion, because you'll come into the store and these things are littered everywhere around the shop with different bottles in. You can choose whatever you want. The boxes start from kind of £6 and upwards, and come stuffed with wood wool, so you can just put your desired bottle of wine in there to gift to somebody. I also do some gift wrap as well. I do like a cellophane and black paper wrap with a white bow. It looks quite decent for an extra charge of 75p, which is probably cheaper than buying a bottle bag from the shop, and it looks a little bit nicer too.